We got Guns Up, Kyle Stewart back here on the program, but this time we're finally talking about him as a member of the UFC roster. He's going to be making his debut on short notice on the first ever ESPN card this Saturday. Kyle, what's going on, man? How are you?
What's up, James? How's it going, man? I'm excited.
No, obviously a huge opportunity here getting to make your UFC debut on short notice. Now, people probably don't know that you had a fight scheduled in the beginning of February against Jared Gooden. So you've been getting ready for a fight anyways, but take me to that phone call when you found out you were in the UFC. When did that happen?
Well, it happened, I want to say, yeah, it happened on Saturday. My manager called me and was like, hey, he can make weight by Friday. And he told me, and I was like, I mean, it's going to be a struggle, but yeah, I can make weight. He's like, okay, let me see if we can get this. And he told me about the opponent, Chance Rencountre, and I was like, okay, cool. You know, I went straight to the treadmill, started running, and then he called me back, and he's like, hey, they found somebody else to fight him. And I think they were going to have Dwight Grant step up from the UFC already on the roster. And so I was like, okay, whatever, you know, and still kept going about preparing to fight Jared Gooden. And then he calls me again yesterday. I was on my way to go watch the Eagles game. And he's like, hey, you still think you can make weight? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, all right, well, we got you the fight. So then that's when the whole whirlwind started. Had to contact my coach, let him know. Had to let my family know. And then today it's just, you know, doing all the medicals and getting everything, going to the gym here in a little bit. Gonna start cutting the weight, not cutting weight, but getting my weight down.
No, I bet. Big whirlwind of everything going on. Who's the first person you told about the news?
The first person I told was my roommate, Tyrell Fortune. Yeah, he's the first
nice.
one I told. Yeah, I told him, and I was like, yo, so, and I told him originally when it was like, hey, this might happen, and it was kind of like, oh, okay, and then I called him when it happened. I FaceTime with him. I was like, yo, it's like official, like I'm in the UFC. I'm making my UFC debut. And I was just screaming on FaceTime. He's right here, by the way. he saw me. He came in. He heard me say his name.
That's excellent, man. So obviously you found this out. You know, one of the things I wanted to ask you, I mean, we talked about a potential UFC jump when you fought James Nakashima. You ended up losing that fight, and now you guys are teammates. How much, you know, how much do you think that will help you in your debut? Just the fact that you switched things up, and it seems like it's really paid off with you training at the MMA lab now.
Oh, it's been huge. It's been absolutely huge. And that's something that even when I was preparing to fight Jared Gooden, going to prepare to fight Jared Gooden, I was really, the guys that I'm going with Jared Cannonier every day. James is out of town right now, but James has helped me out a lot. Guys like Benson Henderson, obviously, Tim Welch, David Michaud, who's going to be fighting on that LFA card. Like, I'm going with these different guys every single day, and it's kind of like when you're training with them every day, you kind of forget, like, you're training partners, you know? But then you got to kind of remind yourself, like, these are some bad dudes, you know? So if I'm getting beat up, like, and I'm getting frustrated, and I'm like, yo, these guys, Jared just knocked out, gosh dang it.
Yeah, I'm escaping. Oh, David Branch. There you go.
David Branch. Jared just knocked out David Branch, and I got to, like, yo, that's who I'm sparring with right now. Benson Henderson. It's like one of the greatest of all time. I remind myself that. I'm like, oh, you know, when I was getting ready for the Jared Gooden fight, I was like, yeah, I'm way more confident now because, you know, that's something that has definitely paid off even more is now that I've been there about 6 months, you know, it's kind of like you put a quarterback into a new offense and he's trying to learn the new offense, you know, and I fought like 2-3 months after just transitioning to lab. But now that I've been there for 6 months, I mean, we're clicking on all cylinders and we're ready to roll. And my coaches and I are all on the same page. We're all seeing the same things. And we changed it up a little bit for the opponent, and that's a little bit earlier. But we're already game planning, and I'm excited to make my debut. So I think this makes me, I don't know how to answer this. If I happen to be the first fight on that card, that would make me the first ever fighter to fight on the UFC on ESPN.
That's true, because actually what I think a lot of people forget is that the prelims are actually on ESPN. It's the main card that's on the app, ESPN Plus. So yes, you are correct. You will be making history.
So, okay.
Yeah, isn't that? I
I'm
mean,
excited about that.
that's pretty badass. Because I'm sure you're a guy. I mean, I know you're a big football fan. Like getting the I mean, you've watched ESPN forever to be a part of that history. I mean, that in itself is cool.
Yeah, I'm jacked up for this, man. I am so excited. It's like it's totally different, you know. And my roommate just came in. He's like, "Yo, in 24 hours, everything changes." And I was like, I can't. I was getting ready for another LFA fight, another top contender, and it's just like I was training hard, but the motivation wasn't like at an all-time high. And now I'm just like, yo, it's here. Let's go. Let's do this. Like, screw 30 pounds. I'd cut 40 pounds in a week if I need to go. Like, I'm gonna get this done, and I'm excited. I'm excited. You know, here's a funny story too. I've only ever been to one UFC event ever, and it was at the Barclays Center in New York. It was last year when Khabib fought.
Oh, I was at that card too. I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
you were sitting. Anyways, I saw you. I commented on your Instagram.
Oh, that's right. I do remember this. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I was literally sitting right next to where you were. That was my first ever UFC event. And I was thinking to myself, because I was taken back, I was like, wow, this is like the real deal. This is packed. This is, you know, and I'm like, man, one of these days I'm going to fill a stadium like this. What is it, like 9 months later? I'm going to be in that stadium, you know? So that's cool. I'm excited for it.
That is, yeah, wow, that's kind of interesting. That's how it worked out. Let's talk about your opponent here quickly. You know, Rencountre trains at a great camp at Alliance. Just, you know, I know it's been quick, but how do you feel like you match up against him?
Oh, I think I match up really well against him. He's a long, rangy fighter. He's a southpaw. You know, fortunately, I spent most of my career training with Matt Franco, and James Nakashima's a southpaw as well. Jared Cannonier can switch and show me some southpaw looks, but I'm really, really comfortable fighting southpaws, actually, compared to I've fought mostly southpaws. So I think matchup-wise, it's a great matchup for me, you know, and I don't think I could have asked for, you know, a better UFC debut. You know, I'm excited to go in there, and he's a tough guy. You know, I'm not going to say he's not tough. He's tough. He's beat a lot of really good guys just to get into the UFC. But I think come Saturday, I'm going to be so jacked up. I'm excited to go in there and put on a show. All my family's going to be back here watching, and man, I just can't believe this has been like, you work for something for so long, and then you just start to believe, you know what, maybe it's not going to happen. Maybe it's not going to happen. And then in 24 hours, it all turns around, and you're headed to Brooklyn, New York to make your UFC debut.
Have you ever had to cut this much weight in such a short period of time before? You mentioned it's about 30 pounds. I mean, you're a guy I know. I believe you've always made weight. I don't think you've ever missed. But
Yeah.
is this the toughest weight cut?
It's
you've
about
had?
the same amount. So when I fought James Nakashima, I cut 27 pounds in 6 days. And so this is about the same thing. It's just I knew that was coming up. So I had prepared for it. So I had prepared 6 weeks to make that weight cut, you know. Now, since my weight was actually real, I'm a big welterweight, man. I'm a big 170 pounder. Like on Sunday night or Monday night after fighting on Saturday, I'll be damn near 200 pounds again. So it's not that like when I say I'm almost 200 pounds that I'm like out of shape eating nachos and just being
no. Yeah,
no,
you're definitely.
I'm just a
yeah.
big 170 pounder. You know, and I make that weight cut, and I'll make the weight cut. It's just no way I'm missing weight my UFC debut, man.
Well, let me ask you this: are you worried at all? Because you know we hear about the New York Commission; they're very strict. I mean, they wouldn't let I think it was Jessica Aguilar's opponent fight or something because she had chapped lips. Like, are you worried about that at all? That they might say, "Hey, you're cutting too much weight." Like, will you try and cut more tonight, or how does that work?
No, I'm not worried about that. My weight cuts, honestly, I'm super hydrated. That's the thing too and it's so weird when I originally got the call, I was like, oh, okay, and he told me, oh, you're not doing it anymore. Immediately went out, I started pounding water, drank 2 gallons of water. Got the call last night, drank another gallon of water, and so I'm completely hydrated. I started thinking about it because that's how you water load, the process of drinking a whole bunch of water so you can dump it out. So I'm not worried about it. Now if I was over 200 pounds or if I was a dehydrated 197, it'd be a little different. If I was just but if I hadn't drank those gallons of water, I'd probably been about 190 pounds. I'm not worried about that. I mean, I'm good.
Yeah, no, I bet. And I mean, you're a guy who always makes weight and all that. How do you see this fight playing out on Saturday?
Oh man, how awesome would it be to get a knockout in my UFC?
Yeah, first fight of the card too, right?
So. Yeah, how awesome would it be to set it off on ESPN, man? That would be awesome. Man, if if the MMA gods smile on me and I do everything right, then I knock him out. You know, I got a 12-second knockout. I got a 7-second knockout. Maybe I knock him out in 7 seconds. Probably not, but that would be awesome.
Last question before we let you go, and again, thanks for the time. I know how busy you are. With the fact you were on Contender Series and you fought in main events for LFA, do you feel like that will help you? Because we hear about UFC jitters, and I don't think that'll be in your case because you've been in high-profile fights before.
Oh yeah, no, I don't think I'll have a problem with that. I don't get jitters. I focus on. I'm an emotional person. The most emotional I ever got was when I fought James. There in front of all the troops there in Virginia. So that made me really emotional. But no, I don't foresee it being a problem. When I go in there, I focus on the job that I have to do. I focus on my opponent and I hear my coaches. That's all I focus on. You know.
I can't wait for this fight. It's gonna be great. Great card coming up here this Saturday. Kyle, appreciate the time, man. Just remind people where they can find you on social media, and if you got any sponsors or shout outs, the floor is yours, man.
Yeah, so you can find me on Twitter at Kyle _guns up _MMA. You can find me on Instagram at Kyle _Stewart 0331. And then my big sponsor, Mountain Primal Meat Company, that's been sponsoring me. I wanted to give them a shout out too. Man, they were some of the first ones that I called. After I called my roommate, I actually called Jay Knight up at Mountain Primal at the ranch up in Colorado and told him, man, because you have coaches, you have your teammates who support you, and Mountain Primal has taken care of me and kept me from having to get another job to keep me out of the gym. And I told them, man, like they played a huge part in making this happen, you know. So I'm so grateful to them. Other than that, that's all I got.